Walk through Blewbury today, and you'll see the hallmarks of a quiet English life: thatched cottages, flint-walled paths, and slow-moving streams. It appears to be an idyllic, static village, but the ground beneath it hides a continuous 3,000-year timeline of human settlement. This settlement exists because of a geological feature called a spring line. Rainwater filters through the porous lower chalk of the Berkshire Downs until it hits a layer of impermeable clay. With nowhere else to go, the water is forced upward, bubbling to the surface in a reliable, year-round sequence of springs. In the ancient world, this was a geographic lottery ticket. While other settlements struggled with seasonal droughts, Blewbury had a permanent, reliable water source that acted as a magnet for humans for over 30 centuries. Every major conflict, industrial shift, and literary work tied to this village can be traced back to this single hydrological anomaly. In 400 BC, this landscape was defined by military power. On Blue Butten Hill, an Iron Age tribe constructed a massive hill fort with steep earthen ramparts. This wasn't a temporary camp. Archaeological excavations revealed a sophisticated western entrance, featuring double wooden gates and a timber walkway for defenders. Buried at these very gates, researchers discovered 10 horse skeletons, ritually deposited as part of a prehistoric belief system we are only beginning to understand. Blewbury began as a center of tribal strength and ritual sacrifice, a stark departure from its eventual role as a quiet agricultural hub. By the 7th century, the focus shifted from the hill fort to the valley floor. Saint Birinus arrived to Christianize the local Saxon tribes, reportedly preaching from the high ground at Chernobyl. The settlement's importance grew until a royal charter in 944 AD officially labeled the village Loco Venerabili, this venerable village. By the time of the Domesday Book in 1086, Blewbury was an economic powerhouse. It supported 89 households and 4 watermills, a population and industrial capacity that dwarfed the average 11th century village. This era also saw the construction of the village's signature thatched cob walls. Built using local chalk and straw, these boundaries have proven durable enough to remain a part of the local landscape 1,000 years later. Moving from the hilltop to the stream beds allowed the village to convert its water resources into industrial power, solidifying its role as a major regional manor. In the 1640s, Blewbury found itself in a dangerous geographic position, pinned directly between the royalist stronghold of Oxford and the parliamentarian forces to the south. In 1644, following the Second Battle of Newbury, local landowner John Fuller was forced to make a high-stakes decision at his home, Hall Barn. A troop of King Charles's retreating royalist cavalry arrived at the barn demanding food and rest. Fuller served them immediately. Only 30 minutes after the king's men rode away, a pursuing troop of parliamentarians arrived with the same demand. Fuller seated them at the exact same tables using the same service. Centuries later, a hidden document was found tucked into the barn's beams, a signed oath of allegiance to Oliver Cromwell. Fuller had prepared a secret layer of protection in case the parliamentarians won the war. This calculated hospitality allowed Blewbury to keep its infrastructure intact, while the rest of the country was torn apart by military conflict. The landscape you see today was largely defined in 1805. The Blewbury Enclosure Act ended the ancient system of open, shared fields, carving the land into the modern patchwork of private plots. Farming became more specialized. The springs fueled massive cherry orchards and commercial watercress beds that supplied markets far beyond the village boundaries. Industrial innovation also took root at Blewbury Mill, operated by the Slade family. In the mid-19th century, a mill hand's failure to add sizing, the chemical that makes paper water-resistant, ruined a batch of paper. But the Slades realized this spoiled paper was actually incredibly effective at absorbing wet ink. This accident led to the invention of blotting paper, a lucrative discovery that earned the Slades a medal at the 1855 Paris exhibition. Whether through agricultural reform or industrial mishaps, the village continued to leverage its unique environment to maintain its economic relevance. By the 20th century, the racing industry had moved in. Trainers discovered that the springy chalk turf of the Berkshire Downs provided the ideal surface for high-speed horse training. The village became home to the Woodway racing stables and the influential Johnson-Houghton dynasty. When Helen Johnson-Houghton took control of the yard in 1945, the Jockey Club refused to grant her a trainer's license because of her gender. She managed the stable successfully regardless, eventually seeing her son become the country's youngest licensed trainer. This traditional world soon sat alongside a very different kind of power. After the war, the Harwell Atomic Research Station was built nearby, introducing a massive, complex industrial landscape to the area. Harwell brought a new population of nuclear scientists and international researchers to the ancient village, dramatically shifting its demographic profile. Blewbury managed a balance between its deep-seated equestrian traditions and its new role as a home for the nation's scientific vanguard. The village's secluded lanes and babbling streams eventually drew another group, the creative elite, seeking a haven from the noise of London. Kenneth Grahame, the author of The Wind in the Willows, moved to Blewbury in 1910. He spent his retirement here, walking the very same paths and waterways we've tracked through history. The sensory environment of the Millbrook and the surrounding downs provided the final inspiration Grahame needed to complete his most famous manuscript. He was part of a larger creative wave that included the painter William Nicholson, the illustrator Trissy Webster, and the jockey-turned-novelist Dick Francis. The history of Blewbury reveals a persistent link between its unique geology and its social development. The same chalk springs that sustained Iron Age warriors fueled medieval industry and ultimately provided the landscape that nurtured modern English literature.